All right, my loves, welcome back. We are going to be talking about the sacral chakra today, but for those of you who want to connect with me, my information is in the description box below, whether you want to book a reading, join the Patreon, or find me on social media. The only social media I am currently active on is TikTok, so all the information is going to be in the description box below. But today we're going to dive into the sacral chakra. There might be a pause on these videos because I do want to put more content about La Santa Muerte out. I want to put more content out about other spirits and doing different kind of work. So there might be a brief pause with these videos, but I will definitely get them uploaded as soon as I can and get back in. But with that being said, this is also going to be a video that may be a little bit triggering. So I've also included a healing session as well that you're able to do for this video to kind of realign yourself and promote healing within your life. But I do have to put it out there, trigger warning, because it is a very sensitive topic when we talk about the sacral chakra. So we'll dive into it today. Now I already have the video for the root chakra already out, so you can check that video out. But I did mention the root chakra is one of those very stubborn chakras that if the root chakra is out of alignment, it can disturb the other ones. So you always want to make sure when you're doing healing that you're getting all of the chakras in alignment. There might be sometimes where you're doing energy healing and you might go through the chakras. Some of them might be very quick and you're going to spend time at one. That's because there's more damage at that chakra. Wherever you're doing more of your time, more of your concentration on healing, that's more than likely just signaling like, hey, this chakra is misaligned. If the chakra is misaligned, what does that mean? It's basically, and like I mentioned before, your chakras, there's about, I believe that the number is 106 or 107, I can't remember, chakras within your body, right? Smaller ones, you have them in your palms, which is why when you do Reiki, you're channeling the energy and you can feel all of those activate. You have them on your back, you have them everywhere, all over your body and in your auric field. However, the 7 major that we talk about, or I say there's 8 major because there's also the Earth Star chakra. But those chakras, when we talk about them, they go into a single line. So it's the serpent that goes through it. When the serpent or Kundalini energy, chi energy is rising through the chakras, they're in alignment, okay? Everything is in synchronicity and it's that up and down motion that goes this way through the chakras, right? I always think of it like DNA and RNA. And I know that might be a weird comparison, but that's the way that I can think about it because you need both DNA and RNA. Your body's not functioning with just one. So I kind of like think about it that way. But it is the energy that just kind of circulates and go this way. So when your chakras are in alignment, all the energy is going up and down. It's not just one forward motion, one downward motion. It's in synchronicity. However, when you have damage in your chakra, it could be a tear in your auric field that causes that. It could also be trauma that has caused that, trapped emotions, and it's a lot of different things that can stem from it. So the sacral chakra is located in the emotional body of your auric field. The emotional body is obviously tied to our emotions, the way we feel, and the way we also pick up emotions from other people, whether you believe it or understood that or not, or didn't know that. That is a way that we are also able to communicate with other people. A lot of people don't realize that is sometimes why you're able to speak to somebody and understand this person is having something going on in their life. Is because of that emotional body. When we are communicating with other people, our aura is lapping into another person's aura, which is why I also mentioned if you are spiritually sensitive or if you're extremely sensitive to energy, sometimes you could pick up other people's emotions. One time I did a healing session with someone, and they needed a volunteer, so I volunteered, and she actually taught me of the absorption of emotions. So I had went through a traumatic event with someone, and in that traumatic event, I absorbed that person's energy. and I absorbed it through my sacral chakra because that's in the emotional body. So she was explaining to me that if you are spiritually sensitive, or if you are somebody just a very sensitive person, because some people are a lot stronger in their energy, they don't need as much protective work or protective, barriers and like energy or field to protect their energy fields, because they have a little bit more of a stronger auric field. And people who are more sensitive, it's likely due to trauma. If you experience a lot of trauma, it makes it a little bit weak, so you have to do a lot of things to keep it strong. But you can absorb other people's emotions. So that is something that's very common. If you have too much inside of your emotional field, in your emotional auric space, it's going to cause holes, it's going to cause tears, it's going to cause attachment, entity attachment, physical, emotional, mental, whatever it is. It's going to attach itself into that auric field within your sacral chakra. Some people think that, with the sacral chakra, and I am going to talk about that today. I'm going to go as much as I can into that subject without being triggering or harmful, or using certain languages or certain things that might trigger events into you, because it's very terrifying when you have to revisit the trauma within that space, and I don't want to do that to anyone. But what I do want to discuss is, a lot of people think that it can be a physical experience that may cause you to have trauma in there, but it's not always physical. It can be emotional as well. And like I mentioned, there are certain times in life where the chakras are developing, and when they stop developing. The age range of development for the sacral chakra is between the ages of 7 and 14. So it has a lot to do with your teenage years, is when this, or I would say young adult or young child, to your teenage, when you're getting into that young adult stage, but you're not there as yet, that's where you are. That chakra is developing. So if you are experiencing abuse at this time, if you are experiencing mistreatment or trauma at that time, it's going to disrupt, or is going to cause harm and injury to the chakra while it's developing during that time period. Not to say that even in adulthood you can still, pick up trauma and emotions and trap it inside of your sacral chakra, and it will still need healing. Yes, absolutely. But it also is very crucial that during those times that, when children are developing, that they're having the most care and nurture in that time, because if they're not, then it causes it to be damaged. I have talked previously about, and I'm probably going to have to cover it more, about the astral twin. And that's when we start getting up into the heart chakra. And what happens is, a lot of people don't realize that chakras can fragment. And what that means is, while your chakra is developing, if there is enough damage to it, and I've noticed this a lot in people who I've done healing sessions on, a lot of them had abusive childhoods where they were assaulted by an adult, where they were used in a way that their body should not have been used at that time period. A traumatic event that happened in that manner usually developed around within that time period, and then that's how they were having a damaged chakra. And what happens is, when it fragments, it's like a piece of it breaks off, and it's just out into the ether, out into your auric space, and you have to repair it. And when I say how hard that is, it is so difficult because it's very traumatic. So usually when I have somebody who's come to me, and normally when people come to me, because I'm so open about my experiences and things that have happened, that's why people usually seek me. I put my video or my podcast or whatever it is, and they're like, I've experienced this, and I would love a healing session from you. And when they come to me, they usually are pretty much open, or I will ask, and I say, you feel as comfortable as you want with me to tell me what you experienced, so that we could focus on what you would like to work on or like to heal. I will normally do something more intensive, like trans trans Reiki or trans Archangel healing, where I put the person under and they're basically hypnotized, but like in a meditation like state, and we're able to go back and repair the damage in the auric field, which is the emotional body auric field, or we are able to do a childhood regression if they are up for that. Childhood regression, though, is a little bit more it's a little bit more intense than trans Reiki. Trans Reiki, we kind of just repair the issue, what's going on. Childhood regression, we get to the root of the problem of what caused it, so we can heal yourself, right? And a lot of people don't understand with quantum Reiki, with quantum healing, when we're doing these things, these are still, even though you have lived these experiences, these memories are still aspects of yourself. They are still part of you. And when they start getting fragmented, that's why you can't have a memory of something that happened before, or if there is damage or there is some kind of trauma that's in that memory. When you are trying to heal it, right, you can't remember, I have this damage, something's going on, but I can't remember why I'm unable to heal it. I can't remember what happened that caused that trigger in order for me to work on it or heal it or whatever the case is. So a lot of people do like the trans healing, the trans meditative healing when we're doing that, because I also infuse it with like quantum Reiki or white dragon Reiki, whatever I feel is appropriate at that time. And we repair, right? We find the fragment and we repair it. Where childhood regression, we actually go back to this situation or scenario that the person can't remember, because sometimes I'll have somebody who will come for a regular Reiki healing session and I'll tell them like, hey, I think you need something a little bit more intensive, just throwing it out there if you would like to do that, so that we can kind of get the memory back, get the little version of you that was fragmented in that scenario and bring them back. But I've had some people who were troopers and who were able to do it, and I had some people who were so traumatized they can't go back to that scenario. But the good part about it is you don't feel, it doesn't feel like it's happening to you. You're watching in third person, so it's very emotional, it's very cathartic. It releases a lot of trapped emotions that you have in there. But that is something that I like to do with others, because I unfortunately experienced a lot of things in childhood, in adulthood, in my teen years that have basically led me to do the methods of healing that I do, so that I'm able to just, and I say it all the time, I don't think I'm better than anyone or whatever the case is. I honestly just want to hold a little lamp up for somebody and we're just walking down this dark tunnel, and I'm just letting them know, hey, I'm just leading the way, just follow me, you're safe, you're gonna be okay. But you gotta just keep going. I'm just trying to be your cheerleader. That's all I'm trying to do, is just guide you to your healing journey, guide you to where you need to be, whether it's the next path, the next story, the next chapter, whatever the case is. But that's all I want to be, is just a little guide in the darkness, and just get you over to the light. That's all I try to do. But it took a lot of years for me to be able to understand different modalities, for me to learn how to heal and to be able to use on others, so that I'm not doing something where it's causing more trauma, or it's making people relive experiences that are very unsettling. I've had some people where it was just too much, they could not do it, it was too much emotion, they couldn't stop crying. And then we got to kind of like bring them back and, let them know, hey, it's okay. But then I've also had some where they were able to get through it. They did several sessions and they were able to repair that part. But there's also the option of trans Reiki meditation or Archangel meditation, which allows you to repair that as well. Is this something you can do yourself? Absolutely. And I say that all the time. Sometimes going to someone whose experience is a little bit easier, because they can help you repair what you can't see or what you don't know. If you know you have sacral chakra damage, but you're like, I don't remember what happened because I was so disassociated from my childhood, I can't go back and remember what happened. Sometimes it might be easier also just to have somebody there as a guide to help you. But I always tell people, you can do these things yourself. Don't ever make somebody feel like it's not safe. You can't do this by yourself. You're not unable to. You can do it yourself if you truly want to. It's a little bit more work. It's a little bit more intense and emotional, because if you don't have certain attunements, or you don't have certain guidance or whatever the case is, it can be emotionally heavy on you, but it is something you are capable of doing. Now I actually want to go more into what it looks like when you have damage inside of your sacral chakra, or if you have trapped emotions in your sacral chakra. Because we previously discussed before that the sacral chakra is associated, or it lies within the auric space of, in your auric field, in the space of the emotional body. So a lot of people think it always has to do with something that is sex related, and that's not always the case. There's other things and other issues and ailments that you might experience with damage or emotional entrapment inside of the sacral chakra. So for example, chronic loss of creativity. If you were somebody, and I've noticed a lot of artists, writers, musicians, painters, illustrators, poets, people who are very creative, and this is the sad part, is that most of the people that I know who were out there creating and doing stuff, they are able to create from their pain. But it becomes so much sometimes that because they didn't heal whatever it was that was laying in it, they're no longer able to create. So they're just stagnant at that point. And it's because they have an overload of the trapped emotions. So while you can channel that energy in that situation and that pain, and it allows you to produce amazing things, it also can bring up emotions to the surface level. And if you are not somebody who is transmuting that energy, or not letting go of the energy because you don't want to face it, because it's intense, it's a lot, all you do is trap it back down again, and it creates blocks. It creates writer's blocks. It creates inspirational blocks. It creates artistry blocks where you're unable to create or produce. It can cause you to have depression because you're unable to be creative. You're unable to release those emotions. And it creates a block into your creativity. You cannot find any passion, that fire that you have where you're ready to go. And I like to associate the sacral chakra with the energy of the wands in tarot. In tarot, wands is very much a fast movement energy, a passionate, fiery, creative energy. Even when you talk about like I believe it's the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is the energy of being able to push through and keep going no matter what you are facing in life, trials and tribulations that you are going through. Nothing is going to stop you. You're going to keep going, and you have to keep going uphill. It's hard, but you got this. That's what I like to associate the energy of the sacral chakra with, is that fire, it's that passion, it's the desire to keep going. Yes, it is also associated with your sensuality. Being able to be seductive and captivating and moving moving an audience. And a lot of people don't understand, or I think there's a misunderstanding when I talk about sensuality. People think I'm talking about sex, but I'm not talking about just sex. I'm talking about when you go to a poetry session or a poetry slam, or you're going to a art gallery and you're seeing somebody's work, somebody's thoughts, their mind. You're seeing everything posted onto a canvas, or you're hearing them speak about it, and they're coming from a place from creativity and passion and experience, and you're able to visualize it and capture it in your mind, whether you're listening to it or even music. People can have like writer's block in music or creating music because of the block that you have in your sacral chakra. It is also because it is associated with the reproductive system and the sexual organs. You can also pick up other people's trauma, other people's emotions, other people's demons, okay, that they have trapped within that system. People who are victims of SA, you can pick up the things, the grief, the guilt, the pain, the hurt, the insecurities. You can pick that up emotionally as well and have it trapped into your reproductive system, or your, sexual organ system. That field that is basically, and that's what you can see like an orange globe in somebody. It looks like that in their lap, like the navel area. That's where you'll see the sacral chakra. But you can see that orange globe. You'll be able to see the things like that are stuck inside of it. If you are capable of like clairvoyant abilities or whatever the case is. You can also see the aura around the person. It'll look like a very dark or fragmented orange. There's always a tinge to it. Whenever I see somebody who has a healthy, clean aura, you can see the brightness within that aura. You can see the brightness within it. But people who have damaged I don't want to say or like damage inside of the auric field, or if they have energetic parasites or entities that are trapped within it, you can see there's like a tinge. If somebody's sick and you look at their aura, you can feel it and it feels low, but you can also look at it and you can see there's like a tinge to it. But people who are creative and very much operating from the auric field of the creativity of the sacral chakra, you will notice it's a bright, beautiful globe of orange. You'll see it radiating from like their navel area, and it'll come all the way around their head too. But it's very important that you are very careful with who you share your emotions and your energy with, and even who you're laying down with. And that's something that I say all the time. People don't understand how much power is in celibacy. It's a lot of power in celibacy, but it's also a lot of power in not associating yourself with any and everybody, and just kind of keep it to yourself and putting your energy out there to people who deserve it. Because there's a lot of times that you'll pick up other people's energy, you'll pick up their negativity, simply by just interacting with them, spending too much time with them, or trying to fix or heal them, or whatever it is that they have going on. It starts to become very vampiric. So like I mentioned before, when you're communicating or interacting with somebody on a spiritual level, you can see like the auras will like intertwine or overlap. So you have to be very careful. If somebody has entities or energies that are vampiric, it's going to attach itself to yours. So you just have to be very careful. You'll also notice, obviously with men or women, like low libido. So not being able to be aroused. And there's also what people like to call overload, and then like a overloaded or overactive chakra or an underactive chakra. So underactive would mean you have like low libido, you are not aroused, or even if you are attracted to somebody, it's just not there. And there's also overactive chakra, right? And you'll notice that with the throat chakra, somebody with an overactive chakra do not know how to be quiet when they're supposed to be quiet, or they might say things that they don't think before they speak. But we're not going to talk about the throat chakra. We're talking about the sacral chakra. But people with the overactive sacral chakra, they like to get around. So we'll just say it that way. And not in a way that's just harmful, okay? Harmful to society, harmful to others. That is definitely something that you will notice in people who have an overactive sacral chakra. And a lot of it ties back to emotional trauma or essay that has happened to them. Some other symptoms, I talked about the creativity, I talked about the libido. Guilt is something that also is associated with that sacral chakra, and it's not just guilt because you did something wrong. It's just the emotion of guilt that you might feel, and a lot of it has to do with guilt from an experience that happened to you and you were unable to fend for yourself at that time. And what I've noticed, or what I tell to people when we're doing healing sessions, is to let go of whatever guilt that you feel towards yourself that you were unable to help yourself at that time because you didn't have the means or the necessity. If you had the means to help yourself at that time, then you wouldn't be there. And you might also feel guilt from what you might have did to someone. I'm just very big on, you ain't got to forgive or forget, but you got to let go at some point, because those emotions will make you sick, okay? And in more advanced situations, in more advanced damage that goes on, when I talk about fragmentation, when you have pieces of that chakra that's floating somewhere in the ether, and it's unable to regenerate because it's so damaged, because you're trapping so much inside of there. You will also have fertility issues, and I've noticed that a lot in women. They have fertility issues. This happens to a lot of victims who were victims of SA or COXA, and I'm not going to talk. You can look up those acronyms or whatever the case is. You should hopefully you know what it is. I just don't want to get flagged for saying what it is. But I have noticed that a lot of victims have mostly anyone who has come to me and they have reproductive issues, and they're telling me they have cyst, endometriosis, PCOS, infertility, anything that they're telling me that has to do with any of those categories, they have always led me back to, oh yes, so when I was a child, this happened. Oh yes, I have been SA'd before. Oh yes, this has happened before. That's almost like a guarantee at that point, that is causing that. Or I've noticed there's a correlation between the two. I'll just say that, that they have difficulty with being able to either, get pregnant or stay pregnant. So it's a lot of work that has to go into it when it's that. And that's a very sensitive, very touchy subject. I've noticed more so with men, it's the infertility as well. And not just infertility, it is the low libido. I've noticed more so. I want to say, I've come across more so with men with low libido than I have noticed also with overactive chakras, where they just like to spread the love everywhere. But I've noticed men more so with low libido that have been SA'd or had some kind of inappropriate situation that happened to them, which is what led to that in their sacral chakra. Now, ways of healing it, like I mentioned before, you can do more intensive, like trans meditative healing, quantum Reiki, pretty much any form of Reiki, but just regular Reiki 1, Usui Reiki is going to take a little bit of time to get there, and that's okay. You do what you have to do. I did a lot of quantum healing with somebody who he had a lot of trauma done to him, and we worked together for a very while. We did a few sessions, and he was feeling like good again because he released the trauma that was trapped in there. But he had a lot of guilt. He had a lot of shame. Guilt is also something you'll notice from the root chakra as well, and you'll also feel shame inside your solar plexus, which is going to be the next chakra that we covered. And I'm going to talk about this. That might be an hour-long episode, because that was the one chakra that was the hardest. The root was hard for me, but the solar plexus chakra was the hardest for me to heal, because it kept getting knocked out of alignment. Anything I did, it was just bop, bop, bop. It was very difficult to heal, because that is also the heart chakra as well. But I'm pretty sure everybody has difficulty with the heart chakra with this day and age that we live in society. But the solar plexus chakra is the one that is very difficult. It's a very stubborn chakra. But the sacral chakra is the one where we carry a lot. Okay, when you go through breakups, when you go through pain, right? You not only feel it in here, but it's also in your sacral chakra as well, because it's in the emotional body, so it's absorbing a lot of that. And I always say the chakras are not just functioning one alone. They all have to work together. So there might be some emotions or some trauma that you experience in one, and it absorbs into the other one as well. Just like I mentioned, guilt and shame, the lower three, you're going to feel it in those lower three chakras, and it's going to be misaligned. But you can also drink teas associated with the sacral chakra, and when you're doing meditation, right? Anything that has to do with orange. So citrus is very good. Obviously, like oranges, clementines. Cloves are also very good. Clove is a very powerful herb, which you can use in your tea. And you just boil it a little bit with some orange, and you can just, and that's the thing, when you're doing a healing session with yourself, if you're using it by yourself, you go into a quiet space, you meditate, and as you're drinking the tea, you envision your sacral chakra being whole again. So at first, when you tap into your energy, you might feel that it's out of place, or it might look a little bit like disintegrated, or the energy might be very low, what you're going to do is you're going to focus on putting healing energy, light energy, and you can imagine just light channeling from your crown down into your sacral chakra, and that light is just healing it and making it orange and making it glow again. And you drink your tea. Cinnamon is also a very good healing herb that you want to use. Calendula, you can use calendula as well. Chamomile is also very good for the sacral chakra. And you can just steep that in a tea, and you're going to want to repeat that. The most important thing is understanding it takes multiple sessions. It takes time for it to heal. You'll probably feel better after one session, but then you might, a few days later, a week later, 2 weeks later, you might start feeling the same again. If you're not consistent and you're not putting that energy and focus into it, then it's just going to keep, falling back, because imagine it like a broken leg, and you do 1 day of rehabilitation or physical therapy on the leg, and then you just expect the leg to be healed after that. No, if you keep walking on it and you're not doing PT anymore, it's gonna go back to where it was before, or maybe even worse. So it's important to stay consistent, and when you heal, understand it's just gonna take a little bit of time for you to get to where you want to be. But envisioning it as a orb, right? And that orange globe is just glowing, and you're just envisioning it. You just close your eyes and envision that when you meditate. And then when you're taking inhales, you're bringing in the healing energy, that white light energy. And then when you exhale, whatever negativities you see attached to it, and it could be a person, it could be an emotion. And that's the thing. Sometimes things are going to start popping up. You're like, damn, I haven't thought about that person in a while. It's because whatever that person did to you, your body absorbed that emotion. It absorbed that situation or scenario. And instead of you dealing with it, you trapped it inside. So when you're exhaling, you're releasing that. You're letting it go. You might feel, let's say you're doing the session and you're like, oh, this block came up, and you're thinking of a scenario like, oh my God, I didn't even remember that happened. I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, that happened such a long time ago. Yes. And you held on to that situation, and instead of like letting it go in that time and period, you took it and you just put it in a suitcase and just stuffed it and buried it somewhere. So it's just important when you're doing that, you're exhaling and you're letting go of that energy. But when you're inhaling, that white energy, the white light energy is coming in, and that negativity, that parasite or whatever block it is, you're exhaling it and releasing it. And like I mentioned, it's just going to take a little bit of time for you to be able to do that and get back to where you need to. But yeah, it's just a matter of being consistent when you do it. But with that being said, I think I'm going to leave the video at that. We talked about the sacral chakra. Next, we're going to move up to the solar plexus. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And then I'll start, once I get through all of those chakras, then we'll start moving into other healing plexuses within your auric field. But like I mentioned, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at my information in the description box below. I want to thank you so much for supporting me, for being here, for giving me the platform and the time to even be able to speak on these things. It's very much appreciated. I don't think you know how much I deeply appreciate it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment or reach out to me. But other than that, I hope you guys take care. I really love you, appreciate you. You can check out the healing video, which is more than likely going to be uploaded as well after this. So you're able to do a healing session on your own as well. But I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.